Demas, if you would introduce yourself
Oh,
first,
sure.
just in case people.
Hello, everyone. My name is Demas. I am a photographer and designer based in Sydney, Australia. I've been doing photography for about 8 years now, and maybe started doing jobs and proper work with brands and clients maybe the last 4 years. And all of my photography and work has pretty much come from Instagram. And that's how I became a photographer. I didn't expect to become a photographer. I wanted to be an architect. And yeah, Instagram and social media took off, and luckily my account also took off. But I just try to combine lots of Photoshop editing with architecture photography, and just try to get as creative as I can get with my work. That's about it.
Perfect, yeah.
Thanks for joining in.
Most of our members are big fans of you. Okay, questions. So we've got a few here that I've got backed up already, and people are already starting to ask me some in the chat as well. So first question, just to get started, I suppose. You've already answered how you sort of got started and all that, but I suppose what inspired you to actually pick up a camera at the very start? And did you have any sort of visions in mind when you started, or did you just sort of want to shoot?
Not at all. So I knew nothing about photography. And in second year of university, my cousin, who's from Indonesia, and I'm from Indonesia, so he's a photographer. He's a wedding and pre-wedding photographer, and he had a job to come to Sydney and shoot a couple. And he asked me to help him assist because he knew no one else in Sydney. And so I said yes, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I just helped drive, and we went to the snowy mountains, and it was super epic. I was just helping him change lenses, helping him hold the flash. And I just had such a good time. The vibe was amazing. The clients had a good time. My cousin had a good time. And I started taking photos on my phone that day. And I was like, oh yeah, it's a nice view. I'll take a photo of that. I'll take a photo of that. And then I started posting them on Instagram. And then a week later, I bought my first beginner level DSLR. It was a Canon 1100D, and I got and my cousin recommended to get the Nifty 50, the plastic 50mm f1.8. And so I had that. And so I basically just shot on that for, I don't know, a couple of months, maybe even a year. And at the same time, I was posting on Instagram. I was posting 3 times a day or something, just whatever I thought was cool, I would just post it. And then I grew to about maybe 2,000, 3,000 followers in about a year or two. And then I went on a trip to Tasmania with my wife. And when I landed in Tasmania, I got a DM from Instagram saying that I've been chosen as a suggested user, which means that Instagram followed me for 2 weeks, and I guess my page got shown to a lot of people. And in that time, in the 2 weeks, I grew from 2,000 to about 15,000. So I was like, I must be doing something right. So let's just keep going, keep shooting, and, just keep taking photos as much as I can because I enjoy it. And then I noticed that engagement wasn't growing. So I grew to 15,000, but my likes and comments were just still the same. And I was like, this is weird. And then I started to just research a little bit. I started to go to Instameets and started to meet the community, meet the people, like Trevor, for example. I met him through Instameets. And I just kind of met a whole bunch of Sydney photographers from Instameets, and we started becoming friends. We started shooting together. And then my account grew even more because of the collaboration. And also then brands started to reach out. So then it started to grow even more from there. And that's how I started.
So it was a big spiral, it sounded like.
Yeah, I think it was when I realized there was 2 realization points where I thought I could do photography, and I could just keep going and keep having fun. It was when Instagram followed me. That was a big kind of turning point. And another one was when a big brand like Adidas reached out or something, and I'm like, this is crazy. I can't believe such a massive brand like Adidas could reach out just from email or from DMs or something. You wouldn't believe it. And then the first shoots I did was just for a pair of shoes. I'm I'll just,
that's amazing,
take some Instagram photos for a pair of shoes because I love shoes, I love sneakers. But then after a while you realize that you should charge and you got to learn how much to charge and how to communicate with clients, all that kind of stuff. So that's a learning curve that I had to go through. Yeah.
Interesting. Next question, I suppose. What does being a photographer mean to you? And piggybacking off of that, how critical of your photography are you and the images that you ultimately create in the end?
I think now, like looking back now, I think I'm a lot more critical than before. Like I have a certain standard that I want to hit before I post on Instagram or YouTube or something. And yeah, like as in, but when I was first starting, I was just like, if I thought something was cool, I'd post it. And then I think over time you develop what you think is cool, right? You develop, oh, that's not cool anymore. Or like, this is now super awesome. Well, I'll try this, I'll try that. So I try to keep it to a certain standard, and I try to keep posting at a certain standard as well, like time-wise. So like once a week, I used to post like 7 days a week, but now I try to post maybe 3 or 4 times a week just to like push out as best quality content as possible. What was the first question?
What does being a photographer actually mean to you, I suppose?
What does it mean to me? I think it's just cool to be able to get creative. Like I just want to show the world that you can do so much with photography. Like you don't have to just take a photo and edit it, but you can also combine lots of photos. You can flip things upside down. You can try new things. Like as in, there's nothing wrong with just taking a photo and editing it. That's fine. But I'm just saying there's lots of things you can try out, and don't be afraid to try that out. And I guess, yeah, just try to inspire as many people as you can. That's my goal, I guess, and try to teach people the techniques I know. And yeah.
I always like asking people that question. I always get very varying difference in responses, but ultimately it winds down to just dwindling down to creativity, I suppose, and letting that flow.
Yeah, and also like, I mean, I used to work in an office like every single day, so like it's pretty mundane and boring. And so when I get home, I try to be creative. And so that's, I guess, how I push my creativity, because I'm kind of at work, like I'm working, but then I'm thinking about ideas of what to edit later on or something like. So that's sort of how I try to push my creativity and balance that like boring and creative side of life.
I like that. That's good. All right, I got a question from one of the audience members. How do you make your images pop? I think all your images sort of have like a certain vibe or look to them where they're very eye-catching. And I suppose this person's trying to ask, how do you sort of get yourself into a style where when someone sees an image, they sort of know it's your image? How do it sort of pops out? It's very eye-catching.
I don't know, people say like when they scroll through my feed it's very consistent and that kind of stuff, but I don't see it that way. Like I see every image as something completely different, but maybe the way I edit it makes it look like it's consistent, but it's just what I like. Like I'm just editing in my brain, like I like these colors. I like this being here or that being there. So I think like just edit it the way you like. That's number one. Like if you like someone else's work, try to emulate it, but try to take it one step further. Like how can, like every time I finish editing, I always ask myself, like, can I make this better? Like that's a question that I think we all need to ask ourselves, like not just in photography, but like in everything in life or whatever. But yeah, so that's sort of my take on like photography. Like how do I take it one step further? How can I take someone else's concept or something that I find inspiring and try to make it my own? But yeah, just like have fun with it.
Okay, no, I like it.
Yeah.
Next question we got here is, how would you recommend learning to make composite photos on Photoshop, getting the lighting right and making it look fantastical yet believable?
I learned all this probably through architecture school. Like that's my first sort of introduction to it, because we had to learn Photoshop ourselves, and we used Photoshop like for 5 years straight just to get our projects and our presentations looking right. And in architecture, like everything is like line work, and you have to put textures on stuff yourself. So let's say it's like a house, like a brick house or something. It's just all white and like with black lines, and you have to put the bricks on. And so you have to understand how the lighting works. You have to understand how shadows work. So from there, I learned how to do that. But I guess like the best way to learn is to just think about how it would be in real life. So like if a light's shining this way, then the shadow's got to go that way. Like and if the scene is sort of bluey colors, like the person should also look kind of cool tones as well. So just like think about it, ask people, like if you're looking at an edit for too long, sometimes you get like messed up in the head, like I can't see anything wrong with it anymore. But like ask someone, like ask your friend, or like send it to a mate, like, hey, what do you think of the lighting? And ask someone who's going to be honest as well. Don't just ask someone who's just going to be like, oh yeah, that's cool. Like honest opinion and like critical feedback is probably the best thing for you to learn. It's also hard, like sometimes people ask me in like DMs or something, like, what do you think of my photo? And it's very hard for me to judge because I don't know where they're coming from. I don't know why they created this edit. I don't know like what level they're at. So like it's really hard for me to, like, if let's say, for example, I don't like it, right? It's really hard for me to be like, I don't like it, because it's like saying so mean to someone who I don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
So like I would recommend just asking someone like your best friend, or like someone who's also who you go out shooting with a lot as well, or something like that. And that's probably like the biggest way to learn, if like how to composite edit, or like there's also obviously like YouTube tutorials and like just teaching yourself, or like that kind of stuff. But in terms of getting lighting right and like getting composites to look right, look at inspirations from other people and ask people.
I like that. So just people who are going to be honest and blunt with you.
Yeah, definitely.
Perfect.
Who
I hear
also
your YouTube
might
channel
not like
is
make you cry either, though. Like just like someone who's nice.
Yeah.
But not nice as well.
I get you.
Yeah.
Next question. How do you learn to communicate with clients, especially when in regards to asking for a paid gig?
So when I first started, like I said before, I was just like, they'd be like, hey, we've got to shoot for this pair of shoes. Can you post 3 photos on your feed and we'll give you the pair of shoes? And I was so excited when I first got it, right? I was like, yeah, let's do it. I just like go out and shoot it. And, but obviously you have to like communicate with them and ask like, what's the concept, or like, if they say you have creative freedom, then you can do whatever you want. But usually there's like a concept behind a certain product, like that they're trying to push. But in terms of asking for price, like usually the best way is like, ask them, do you have a budget for this? That's literally the best way to ask someone if there's a price. So like someone asks and they don't mention any money, and you think you should be paid, or if you don't want to be paid, that's okay if you just want to do it for experience. But if you want to be paid and if you think you should be paid, then you should just ask, like, is there a budget for this? Usually I would charge. Oh, and then like sometimes you just like think about what is it worth to you. So like if it's gonna take 2 hours to shoot and 2 hours to edit, like think about how much you want to be paid for that. Like if $200 is enough, then say it. But if you want $1,000, say it. And if they think it's too much, then obviously they might move on to someone else, or they might negotiate back and say it's too much. Or if they accept it, then that's great, because then that's what you want. But obviously don't go like too crazy, like I want $100,000, because like you got to understand, sort of look into the market as well. And like, again, asking, like working with friends, and like I guess you guys might know Ben as well, Ichban on Instagram.
Yeah.
He's one of my best friends, and we talk a lot every day. So if we get a job, we're like, hey, how much do you think this is? Or just like we talk a lot to each other and like communicate and just like talk to people. And there's also like guides online. There's like a Getty image licensing calculator. Like you can, like if you type in Google Getty image licensing calculator, and a brand wants to like buy one of your photos, you ask like, what do you want to use it for? And you can just type it in the Getty image and it spits out a price for you. And you can judge it, like, should I go more than that? Should I go less than that? Like just judge it yourself. But yeah, like just don't be afraid. If a client's coming to you, you know that like they're looking for you to do like what you do, and they already like your work. So why not ask, if there's a budget or if they can pay? And if they can't, and you want to get paid, then like it's your decision to judge it, like, is it worth your time or not?
Yeah, so a bit of confidence in yourself, and also just being a bit realistic, I suppose.
Yeah.
Nice. Next question we have here is, do you have any advice on what type of equipment to invest in? Should we insure our equipment? Is buying brand new equipment always necessary?
I I just kind of like, so I started on a Canon 1100D, and then when I kind of kept shooting, like the lenses I got was starting to get like massive, like the 24 to 100, 24 105 was big. And then the camera was like just quite heavy. So I thought like if I was going to upgrade, then maybe I'll try a mirrorless system. And so that's why after the 1100D, I switched to Sony A7 II and tried that out. And I love the system because it's like mirrorless. You can put a tiny lens on it and you can go. But now I'm starting using massive lenses, so it's becoming quite big as well. But it's still, the body's quite small. So I like the system and it's been working for me. So I guess my tip is just try to find a system that works for you. So like, let's say you're on a Canon system and you like it, just keep going. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you think it's too big, then try to look for something that's smaller. And if you want full frame, then if you want small and full frame, there's not many options. There's only like maybe Sony, and now Canon's bringing it out as well, and Nikon. But back then there was only Sony full frame mirrorless. That's why I switched to Sony. But I don't know, gear is like gear, right? Like you can take cool photos on a phone now. Like, and even before you could take cool photos on a phone. So it doesn't really matter too much. If you think your photos could improve with a certain lens, then you should look into into buying it. And if you can't buy it new, then there's nothing wrong with secondhand. But also like, you gotta look, like if it's a hobby, then you gotta obviously weigh it up, like if it's worth the money. But if you're doing it for work, you also can think about like what jobs or what things can I like do to get paid to get the money back for paying for this camera or something. So you gotta think about like that when you're trying to look for a new camera or buying a new
Weighing
camera.
up the cost against opportunity, I suppose. Is it really worth the investment?
Yeah, like I've stuck on this system. I've got right now I'm on an A7R4. Before it, I was on an A7R2, but I used the A7R2 for like 2-3 years. And then I'm on the A7R4, and I've got 3 lenses that I just use, and that's it. I'm not looking to buy anything anymore. I've got 12, 24, 24, 70, 7200. So just like a big range from 12 to 200. And that's pretty much all I carry in my bag. Because I don't really shoot portraits, so I feel like I don't need like higher apertures or like f1.8, f1.2. I don't really need that. And the range is really good for me because I shoot a lot of like city, so super wide, like 12 mil is really, really good for me.
Okay, nice. All right, next question we have here. You mentioned your cousin was an influence in your starting photography, but how did you go about developing your skills further and improving your work? So I think you touched on this already a bit.
Yeah,
anything else you wanted to add on to that?
At the beginning, I was just shooting everything. Like if I thought like a chair was cool, I would just take a photo of a chair, right? Like anything you look at that you find cool, just take a photo of it and try to frame it in a way that, you know, you think is nice. But over time, like I might not think that chair is cool anymore, like in a year's time. But just like go out, shoot as much as you can, and yeah, like I said, have fun.
Nice. Another question here. Do you recommend any particular YouTube tutorials or YouTubers to watch?
Is this meant to be plugging myself?
Could be a plug for yourself, or could be some people you want to shout out or anything.
So yeah, I've recently, maybe the last half a year, have been putting out YouTube videos. I'm planning to do lots more. It's obviously a big learning curve to like edit videos and all that kind of stuff. So I'm still learning, and how to present the tutorials is also like another thing, like because you want to make it as simple as possible for people to learn. But I learned like a lot of stuff from Flern. I don't know if you know Flern.
No, not too sure.
On YouTube, PH Learn, Learn.
Okay, haven't heard.
His name is Aaron Nace, but his channel's called Flern. He does anything, everything Photoshop and Lightroom.
Okay.
And there's another guy called Unmesh, and his Instagram is his YouTube is Piximperfect.
Okay.
And he literally knows everything about Photoshop, like every single like button. Like it's crazy how much he knows about Photoshop. He gets quite technical, so yeah. So like my style is trying to make it feel like not as technical, but like make it look, you know, everyone can do this. I put out one yesterday about how to straighten a photo. It's quite simple, so like I just want to make that kind of style so everyone can learn.
I like it. It's creating a sort of like a data bank of stuff to watch. Nice. Another question here. How do you come up with your concepts for some shoots and, I suppose, post-production?
I think a lot of it comes from like stuff I see like online. Like I follow a bunch of people I get inspired by. So when I see their work, I save it and then I try to refer it back. If it's like, let's say for sneakers or something, I scroll and I find a cool sneaker photo. I would just save it, and like if a sneaker job comes up, then I would look through that folder and be like, maybe this might be a cool concept, or like this is a nice location. Think of it like that. That's a start. And then again, like I said, try to take that concept and make it your own. I guess it comes with experience as well. Like you try something and then it might work and then you can do it again. And if you try something and it doesn't work, you can try something else. So like learn from your mistakes and yeah, like look for inspiration. And inspiration doesn't just come from Instagram or like YouTube or wherever. Inspiration can come from anywhere. Like if you're walking on the street and you see something, it could be an inspiration for something. Or if you're traveling and you see a nice location, that's also inspiration. So like look for it. Look for inspiration.
Nice. Okay. Another question. What's the most fun shoot or photo you've taken or partook in?
I did a job for Nike quite a while back. It was for the Air Max Day. So like it's the 17th of March, I think, which is Air Max, when the Air Maxes launched in like the 80s. And so it was the anniversary of that, and Nike reached out to me to shoot 4 pairs of their shoes in a month. And so like each week I had to shoot a new pair of shoes and post them on my social media. And that was super fun because it's like a long 1 month project, like sort of a bigger budget that I could like go to different locations and like try different things with it. And at the end of it, they put my photos all on the wall at like the Air Max Day party, like on that night. And it was super cool to see. And then all the photos were also on like the Hype store window, like Hype shoes.
Oh yeah.
And so like, it was just quite rewarding to see that like the work you put into something get shown to lots of people. And it was a fun process as well. Like it was a good shoot. The products were nice. The clients were good. So I can't complain. So that was like, that's probably like a fun shoot. But I think in terms of like a fun edit, I would have to go with my like plane in the forest one. I don't know if you guys have seen that one. So that one, so a lot of people think that's real and they keep asking me, where is that? So that's the plane's in Bali and the forest is in Hawaii. But I've seen lots of pictures of real planes in a forest, and I thought maybe I could try to make one myself. And so the forest is in Hawaii, and when I droned over it, I was like, I think I can Photoshop a plane in here. And then I went to Bali and I knew there was an abandoned plane. So I took a photo of the plane. And so I already had that concept in mind. And it took me like maybe 2 years to realize, because I went to Hawaii and Bali in 2 different years. And then I decided to just try to Photoshop it and try to make it look as realistic as possible. And because I geotagged at Bali, now everyone who goes to Bali message me and go, where is this plane? And so there's a website, I don't know if you know Snopes. They like debunked it. They're like, oh yeah, they full solved it. I didn't even need to tell them anything. And they're like, this is the forest in Hawaii and the planes in Bali. Like they knew. And then they debunked it, and it randomly appeared in like a Switzerland newspaper. It was just so random, but like it's pretty crazy to see what like an image can do. And this is probably the most shared like image that like anyone's out of mine on my feed.
Amazing. Yeah, it is a very popular photo of yours.
But like I didn't know it was going to go crazy, right? Like I just having fun and photoshopping a plane in a forest, and turns out I thought it was fake, like because I've been looking at it for like 2 weeks or a week looking at it. And then I kept sending it to my friends, like, does it look real now? Does it look real now? And then like, once everyone's like, yeah, that looks cool. And then there we go.
It's really funny that you say stuff like that. Myself and some of the other members, I often see just exchanging photos between each other after we do a bit of Photoshop, and double checking like, oh, does anything look weird about this image? And we try to spot it out.
Yeah.
That's funny. Next question we have here is, what do you suggest the best way to develop confidence in yourself and your photography, especially when starting out and haven't had too much experience?
I think just going out as much as possible and trying to shoot, like try to put out as much content as you can, but like the best quality content that you have at the time. So right now I just started a TikTok, and so that's what I'm kind of doing. It feels like it's a new social media thing for me. So like I'm trying to get videos and content from the past and trying to repurpose them to make TikTok videos. And so I've been posting 2 a day, and I'm just trying to grow it, right? So like I guess it's sort of like, it feels so fresh. It feels like I was starting Instagram again. And yeah, I guess I'm trying to use what I learned from Instagram and try to grow a TikTok that way. It's slowly growing, but it's like, I'm trying. I don't know. It's a lot of younger audience.
New experience, I bet.
And you gotta catch them in the first 2 seconds of like, you know, it's a very different type of
vibe.
Content and a different app. So I have to learn it all. But in terms of like finding your own style and like getting there, like I think it's shooting as much as you can. Like find out what you like to shoot. Like find out why you like to shoot it. So I like to shoot night. I like to shoot architecture because that's what I'm interested in. But try out all different types. Like try out portrait photography, try out food photography. Like there's nothing wrong with trying everything, and then figure out what you like, and figure out what you're good at. I think that's a thing that everyone should try to figure out.
Yeah, there's a ton of different niches in photography, so definitely trying to find your own one. Can be hard at first, but once you get in it, I think it can be really rewarding.
Yeah, definitely.
Next question we have here. Do you prefer DSLR or mirrorless?
Well, right now mirrorless, because that's what I use, but I haven't really used the DSLR since that first beginner one that I had. But every time I like hold a friend's camera that's like massive, I like, no, I can't do this.
Fair enough. Next question. How do you stay true to your style when there are so many different editing styles and trends?
You can always adapt your style to a new trend. Like you can always, so like if you have a certain edit that you like to do or something, and there's a specific trend, try to make it your own. Like an example that I can think of is maybe when like Game of Thrones ended or something. I created like 2 edits from like photos I took, and made them like Game of Thrones inspired, and found like stock images of like Khaleesi and dragons and stuff, and I put them in a shot of Hong Kong on like a peak. But like, yeah, like don't be limited to trends and styles, because you can always adapt your style to something else. And that's how you can grow as well. Like, yeah, there's always like growth everywhere, and don't be limited to different things.
Nice. This might be a bit of a technical one, but do you have any advice on learning how to make your images move or part of your images move in things like Adobe After Effects?
I'm not very good at After Effects, but I use Premiere to make things move. So like if you've recorded something still and you want to make, if you've recorded a video on a tripod is what I'm trying to say. So like, let's say a waterfall and everything's still except for the waterfall moving, and you want to put a still image on top. Like I just put it in Premiere, make sure everything's still, and then like take a capture of the frame and then bring it into Photoshop, put a person in Photoshop, and then save that person in as a layer, as a PNG, and then bring it back to Premiere. So it's like stacking up a photo on top of a video. But that's how you make a cinemagraph, pretty much.
Right, on cinemagraphs, yeah.
But there's lots of ways, there's lots of things, there's like not just a person and water, there's like so many different types of cinemagraphs, right? Like, I don't know if you guys saw, recently I did the thing for Samsung where like the road's going through a phone.
Yep.
So that's a cinemagraph. So like there's lots of different ways you can do a cinemagraph. But that's exactly the same technique I did. So like I layered everything in Photoshop, got everything ready, and then just try to mask out where the video needs to be. And that's
Nice.
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's another question. How much time do you put into editing one image?
It ranges. So like if it's a photo that I love and I'm just doing a Lightroom color grade, it could just be like 15 minutes, 20 minutes. But if it's like a photo that I'm going to composite like and add lots of different layers to it and try to do something like different or crazy, it could go up to like maybe 3 or 4 hours sometimes. But you sit on it and you you stop and then you take a break and you come back to it the next day and try to keep working on it. But yeah, usually about 3 or 4 hours max, I think. Yeah.
Okay, nice. A fair amount of time. Some other questions we have.
But yeah, sorry.
No, go on.
In terms of time, like not just the editing time, but there's also like so much time involved in like writing a caption or like planning your next photos or like planning a story for something. Like Instagram stories, like Instagram back in the day was just a square and that's it. And now you have to do so much for like one thing. You gotta like post a carousel, you gotta post stories, you gotta do all this stuff. So like, it's definitely so much more, and it's obviously something that I had to learn to like do more. But yeah, it's definitely like the more content you put out, I think the better.
So you find that actually putting time into like your stories and the carousel and your caption and all that actually helps a lot more with like engagement or something, or?
Yeah, definitely. Because like if you can tell a story and if you can get people to engage with your stuff a lot more, like visually, not just like engage by liking, like, or if people can relate to certain things, like people like that's a better way to grow an audience. If you want an audience, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Here's a interesting question. What would you recommend to someone trying to gain more of a following and maybe even sponsorships or collaborations with brands? So I suppose taking that step up to, I suppose, making some money from turning into a hobby into sort of a part-time job or something.
I think look at what brands you want to work for. So like, let's say you're into clothes or something, and then that's what you should be putting out on your Instagram. And so show the brand before they even reach out to you that you can do it first. So before Adidas reached out to me, I was already posting sneaker shots just on my own. Just from my travels or when I'm wearing cool shoes, I would just go out and take photos of them. So like have the initiative to do your own personal projects. That's really important. Like I'm still doing my own edits for fun and like shoots for fun. Like that's something that you have to do to be able to get brands to find you. And I would think don't focus on that. Focus on like your own growth and your own style first, and then once you grow, then brands will come. But in terms of growth, there's like, I would say, like obviously post consistently, post actively, and be active on the app. It's a social media app, so like comment on things that you like, but genuinely like, don't just like randomly comment so that people will look back at your account or whatever. Like be genuine, make friends, post actively, post consistently, and what else is there? Like find your audience, I guess. Like I post at 9 p.m. every time I post at 9 p.m. because I know that's when like you can see your insights and stuff, like when the most people are online. So yeah, that kind of stuff is like strategy, right? Like you got to plan so that you maximize the work that you put out.
I guess a bit of planning and thinking behind how you go about things.
Yeah, Instagram's kind of become like a game. On like social media's kind of like become a game where you have to like strategize and like think, you know, when should I post this, or like when's a good time to do this, or you know. But when I first start out, it's just for fun. Just do whatever. Doesn't matter.
Nice. Here we go. You've been doing a lot of competitions lately. A shout out to one of our execs who took one of the photos you shouted out, I think, after the fact.
Oh, wow.
What makes a winning photo to you?
So that contest, I usually do like a big contest every year and try to get like a few brands on board. And yeah, like the edits on that contest were crazy. Like we got like over 5,000 entries, and to be able to pick 3 winners and then do like a carousel of 20 other shots, like 20 honorable mentions, is like crazy, right? To have that much level of competition. But I don't know, we were looking for just something creative, something different that like other people haven't done. So like you guys probably saw the train with the waterfall. I don't know, it was like the Bali guy that won it. Like, how do you even think of that? Like, so we were just wowed by all the concepts and all the different things, and the judging process was like so hard. Like it was like, I don't know who to pick. They're all good.
Seems really overwhelming.
Yeah, but
Were
we
you
just
looking
had
out
to-
for anything in particular?
Just like creativity, uniqueness, and just like how much you push like our photos. Like we've given you like 70 photos. What can you do with this? But yeah, that's sort of what we're looking for. Just like who was the most creative and who took it to the highest level, I guess. But that's very subjective, right? That's very
Yes.
subjective. Yeah.
True. Very true. Here's another good question. How do you find the audience to see your photos? Hashtags, feature accounts, or something else?
Feature accounts and hashtags are definitely a thing. Like if you can get featured on as many accounts as possible, you'll probably grow faster. And the bigger the feature account, obviously the better. So try to use hashtags that lead to those feature accounts. For example, like, I don't know, Art of Visuals, Game of Tones, like all those big pages that feature, like, that is a really good way to grow. Yeah, I think that's sort of like one of the only ways to grow on Instagram now. To try to get featured on like the certain niche of whatever you shoot. But yeah, that's probably the biggest way I've grown as well. So like, I've been featured on Photoshop's Instagram, on DJI's Instagram, but they reach out to me like, can we post some of yours? So like, go for it. Like, and it's a good way. Like I did a takeover at Photoshop for a week. So they posted 5 of my images. And I grew 20,000 followers just from that 1 week's of Photoshop feature. And that was a big growth for me last year.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Another question here. I just want to know how he got to where he is now, whether he always knew he wanted to pursue photography or whether it was a passion he discovered along the way. So you mentioned that you were studying originally for architecture. Was there ever sort of like a lingering, maybe photography is what I should be doing, or did it just sort of come in once everything started to steamroll?
Yeah, I was just doing it for fun and posting on Instagram. And then when jobs started to come, that's sort of when I thought like, this could be a thing like that I could be doing. I'm still not doing it full time at the moment, right? Like, but in my head, I'm just like, if I can do both and earn money from both, then why not? If I can earn money from architecture and at the same time earn money from photography and I'm not jeopardizing anything, why not? I think that maybe because of all my photography jobs and I become part-time, like my architecture, like growth in the industry has probably not been as steep as other people in my office. But I still enjoy it. Like, I think if you don't enjoy it, then you shouldn't do it. Yeah. And like, eventually, maybe if photography gets even more like busy and if I start gaining momentum on YouTube or whatever, maybe I might quit. So like, you just have to weigh up the situation, and see where it takes you. Because like, I think I can at the moment be a full-time photographer, but in my head, I'm just like, I can still do both. So why not?
Just trying to find that balance, I suppose.
Yeah.
Just taking every day as it comes. Nice.
Yeah, I think so.
How many photos do you take for a shoot, and how many of those would you end up throwing away? Or not using?
Usually, when I go to a specific location, I try to like get at least one amazing shot or one thing I could post from that place. If I could get 2, if I could get 5, that's amazing, right? But now it's like everything goes into one carousel, so it's like it's one thing. But yeah, if I can get like 2 or 3 posts from one location, I'll be pretty happy. I take a lot of photos. I take like maybe like 100 or something at 100, 200 at one location. And I never delete photos. Like, even though I take heaps, I just keep them. Like, I have so many hard drives at home. I never delete them because I might be able to use them for something else in the future. Like, even just like a person's head moving something differently, like you might be able to use that for something. Like, that's just my way of thinking. Like, you might be able to Photoshop the background in from somewhere else, you know, that kind of stuff. So that's just, yeah, I never delete photos, but just take as many as you can until you get the shot that you want.
That was actually going to be my next question. How do you go about storing all your photos? But so you just have a ton of hard drives laying around, do you?
Yeah, so I use where is it? I use like these SSDs.
Samsung Evos or
T5s.
Okay.
But these are like the drives I use for the stuff I'm currently editing. but then like the backup stuff, the older stuff, I just use like normal cheaper hard drives.
Okay. Sweet.
So when I travel, I carry this because it's really fast. Like before I travel, I empty them, and like so I can just back it up to this when I travel.
Do you have a backup, like I suppose all those data banks to the cloud or anything like that, like all your raw photos, or mainly just edited?
Yeah, so I have like all my edited stuff is on a Dropbox, but I don't put any raw stuff, which I probably should, but at the moment I don't.
Can get expensive quick, I'd imagine.
Yeah, definitely.
Here's an interesting question. What kind of computer setup do you find important for editing?
It depends. Like if your computer can run Lightroom and that's all you have, that's completely fine, right? Like if you need something more powerful, if you're doing lots like more layers on Photoshop, or if you're doing like more 4K video editing or something, like then you need a more powerful computer. You need like a good graphics card, you need like bigger RAM, and a good screen. Like that's probably the three things that are important, and like obviously the processor. But at the moment I'm using a Razer Blade Advanced 15 laptop. It's like a gaming laptop. It's pretty good. I just got it like last year, and haven't had any issues with it. But before that I was using a Dell XPS. But that started to slow really fast when I started shooting on the A7R4, because the files are like 61 megapixels, and so on Lightroom it just started like lagging hard. A bit. Yeah, so whatever is not like lagging for you is fine, right? If you're just going to be doing Lightroom editing and it works, then that you can use whatever. You can even use your phone to do Lightroom editing.
Yeah, the
mobile. Yeah.
Fast, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. I got another question here. You've been to a lot of beautiful locations and taken photos. Which country was your favorite to visit, and which place would you like to visit one day for a dream shoot?
I wouldn't say it's like beautiful, but my favorite place that I've been to was that like railway market in Bangkok.
Oh yes.
That train market was crazy. Like just to see everything going on, like it's a market, everyone's like chopping meat on the side, like there's like eel flying everywhere onto the train track. It was like such a crazy experience. And then when the train comes, like at the moment like all the awnings are closed. When the train comes, they open all the awnings, they slide all their tables back, and then the train goes through this market. It was just like the craziest thing like to experience. Like I didn't expect any of that to happen. And then when I droned over it and I saw what it looked like from above, it was like, what is this? Like it's crazy.
Yeah, I think I saw you uploaded a video of the or time lapse of the
yeah, so that also went pretty viral as well. And so that's sped up at 10 times. It doesn't actually go that fast.
Yeah, of course.
And the train, like if someone's standing in front of it, they just stop and just start honking at you. But I'd recommend, if anyone likes to take photos, to go there, because it's like, even if you don't like to take photos, it's still like crazy experience. Yeah, so that was really cool. What else? Oh, in terms of where I would like to go, I haven't really explored like Europe much. So probably around Europe would be maybe like London. I've never been there, so yeah, like around. It's got nice architecture. Yeah, probably London, I would say, because I've never been there before. But also, obviously, like Iceland. Like, who doesn't want to go to Iceland?
Beautiful landscapes I've seen.
Yeah, like, yeah. So like around Europe area, I want to explore more.
Nice. What has been your worst experience on a shoot? Any nightmare shoots? Anything go horribly wrong? Broken gear? Lost of files? Most stressful sort of shoot, if you've had one?
I don't know. I think the biggest one is like I forgot to shoot in RAW, maybe. Like everything was just JPEG.
Still not terrible.
That's not that bad. You can save that. I don't know. I'm really bad at waking up. So one time I was really late. So like if it's a really early morning shoot, that's pretty bad. But yeah, nothing like too crazy has happened. Actually, this is a waking up story. So I was supposed to go to Japan last December for a job. I was supposed to land on Sunday in Japan around like the afternoon, and the job started on Monday, so the day after. My flight from Sydney to Japan was at 7 a.m. and I woke up at 7 a.m. So, so I just went straight to the airport as fast as I could, and I literally booked like a flight at the counter, and I got on a flight at 8:50, and managed to land in Japan Sunday night to make the job for Monday.
Wow.
It was like that was probably the craziest stressful thing ever.
Stressful.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, that was crazy.
Insane.
Yeah.
Another question, I suppose. We're getting close to the end here. What are some tips, I suppose, you would sort of give to some people in university who might not have a ton of time? I know that you still said that you have a part-time job. So how do you suppose manage your time between photography and work-life balance?
I think it's like, I think it would come down to like priority. Like if you love photography and if you enjoy it so much and you want to go out and shoot, then that's what you should do, right? Obviously balance it out. Like if you have assignments, you should do them. But if you're free and you have time, then go out and shoot. So when I first started work and I wanted to shoot, I would shoot after work, and that's how I started shooting night photos. And that's how I learned how to shoot long exposure and like how to find cool spots in the city. So like just find the time, and like if you want to prioritize it, you can. But if you want to prioritize other stuff, then you should. So like I think it's to do with priority and if you enjoy it and if you want to do it.
Okay, so it's a lot about just prioritizing, as you said.
Yeah, like don't ever be like pressured to be like, I have to go take photos. Like just want to do it. And like if you want to wake up for sunrise, if you want to shoot a sunset, then go do it. Like if you have nothing else on or whatever, right?
Right, of course.
Yeah.
A lot of people commenting about all the anxiety they would have had if they missed their flight.
Oh man, that was crazy. There was a really bad taxi driver, so I had to go. So the first flight was from domestic airport, so it's like a Qantas flight from Sydney to Brisbane to Tokyo.
Right.
And the next flight I got was a Jetstar one that flew Sydney to Gold Coast to Tokyo, but it flew from the international. So I had to go from domestic to international, and I just thought I'd take a cab. And the taxi driver wouldn't drive me there. Like he didn't want to drive me because it's so close, because he wants more money.
Of course,
and,
right.
He's like, take the bus. And when he said that, the bus drives past, and I'm like, it just left. How can I take the bus? And then the whole way from domestic, he ended up driving me. But the whole way from domestic to international, he was just like telling me off, like, you should have taken that bus. You should have taken it. I was like, but I can't.
Telling you off.
Even when we got to international, he's still telling me, if you took the bus, you would have been here faster. What are you doing? Like, I'm paying you money to drive me. It was just like the craziest morning probably of my life.
Really didn't want to do his job for a second there, sounds like. Maybe he had something against you.
Yeah.
Here we go. Here's an interesting one. What would you recommend for people who want to take landscape photos but can't travel anywhere? How do they avoid taking cliche photos? So I suppose when they say they can't travel anywhere, they mean they can't go to, I suppose, super exotic locations overseas, or
well, we all can't go anywhere right now.
Yeah, of course.
so like use the time now to explore around Sydney, right? Like there's so many, like we're all lucky to be able to live in Sydney, to be able to go out and like drive half an hour or 40 minutes and you go to like Royal National Park, right? Like there's so many cool spots there. Like there's Wentworth Falls. There's like so many cool outdoor locations around Sydney. Even like Bondi Cliffs or like Coogee Cliffs, Maroubra Cliffs. There's so many like really epic landscapes in Sydney. Cliche shots, that's up to you though. Like if you want to take the cliche shots, then you should. But if you think that the shot you're taking is cliche and you want to take something different, then you should look for it. Try different things. Try different lenses. Use a wide lens. Try a zoomed in lens. Try macro. Like do lots of different things to try and find your own style and what you like to shoot, or what you think is cool, or what you think is nice. But yeah, it's up to you. If you're out on a shoot and all you're doing is cliche things and you think that's cliche, then maybe you shouldn't be doing that. I don't know.
I like that. No, it's cool. Here's another question. Any hidden or cool spots to take a cool photo? So you sort of already answered a few of these, but I suppose just adding on to that, how do you find it sort of interesting spots? I know that I like to sometimes go on Google Maps and have a quick scrub around and
Yeah.
zoom in, go onto the street view if possible. But do you have any sort of tips, I suppose, or?
I think like back then when I was doing, in terms of like the city, like I would just walk around. Like in terms of like the Sydney CBD is not that big. I would walk around, look at every street, like, oh, that might be a cool shot. Like I would explore for like 2 hours a night. I just walk around and try to find things. Or if I'm just out, just look around. In terms of more like obscure locations out, like in the cliffs or whatever, usually like I would find something on Instagram and either I would ask the person where it is or I would just try to Google it, like where it is. And I've done both. So like if you see like, I don't know, a cool cliff or something and you can see something in the background, try to Google that or like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So sometimes just asking people as well, like, oh, where'd you take this shot? Can actually
Yeah,
get you.
I don't understand people who are precious with locations. Like if anyone of you guys ask me on DM or whatever, where is this? I will exactly let you know where it is. Unless it's like Photoshop, then I'll tell you. Or if it's like illegal, then I'll also tell you. Like if I break into a building or something to get the shot, then I would also tell you. So yeah, like I don't mind sharing locations. It's not my house. Like if it's my house, then I will not tell you.
Of course, yeah.
But if it's like a public space that anyone can go, then of course I'll tell you.
Nice.
But yeah, just ask.
I suppose last question for today, just so as we wrap up here in the last few minutes, what's your biggest tip for photography? Your last piece of advice you'd like to give to our members, I suppose? Something that you've always sort of lived by, I suppose, or?
I would say like always take it one step further. Like as in, if you've done something and you know you can do it and it's nice, like how can you make it better? Like always ask that question I think is very important for your own growth and for like the level of creativity of the world, right? Like, you know, like we all want to get more creative and do different things. And yeah, if you, let's say, take a photo and you can make it move, try it. Or like make it into a little video, try it. If you take a photo and you can add a reflection, I don't know, try it. Like just try to think of different ways of how to just like not make it your standard shot. Like you can keep doing your standard shot, but how will you grow from that? I guess it's, yeah.
I guess always just sort of just trying to push yourself, push what you can do with.
Yeah, and be motivated yourself to like, don't wait for someone to push you to do something. Just like if you ask yourself, is this the best you can do? And your answer is no, then what are you going to do to make the best you can do?
I like that. Sort of have that burning passion. I can sort of hear it in your voice as well. It's cool. Well, thank you so much for today, Demas. We've really appreciated it. A lot of people in chat saying thank you as well. Everyone here has really enjoyed the time and sort of insight you've given us into your career so far. We all really enjoy your work and all really look up to you.
Thank you so
I know
much.
personally, during O Day and stuff like that, a lot of people are always asking about your work and stuff like that. Oh, have you seen this guy? He's such a cool, he inspires me.
It's funny, like a few, the new UTS building is designed by my office that I work for.
Oh, no kidding.
The
glass.
The glass one.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Also, wait, I think that's the only UTS one by FGMT. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, I love that building. It's really relaxing to sit by the window over there.
Yeah, the library looks cool too inside.
Yeah, it's really nice in there. It's really
Yeah.
quiet.
Shame we can't go right now.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, well, we're not really going to uni these days.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, once again, thank you a ton.
No worries.
Everyone here was really grateful. I know I'm really grateful for it. It's been very enlightening, I suppose.
Thank
very
you for having me.
insightful.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you
If
so
for
much.
all the
wants to, like,
questions.
put on their microphone so we can clap.
Sure, clap. Why not?
And your video if you want to.
All right, I'm
Thank
gonna
you,
end the
guys.
recording
Thank
here,
you.
Thanks,
guys.
man.
So much.
And I'll be
Thank
ending
Thank
this soon.
you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was so helpful.
Bye.